This is Transformational Tuesday, and we're going to start this episode whether anybody likes it or not. This week we are excited to bring the awesome process, journey, learnings that these wonderful people have been through. This is Thomas and Maribel. Please just introduce yourself.
Hi, for everyone that doesn't know me or us, it's Thomas and Maribel. We're not from Liverpool, by the way, we're from the Wirral, and that's our investment area. And we've been with Mark and Trish for 18 months, maybe a bit less.
We've been saying 18 months for at least 2 years now.
I don't know how that works out.
2 years it's been, hasn't it?
Yeah, come on babe, you introduce yourself now.
I'm Maribel, I'm Thomas's better half. I don't know what else to add, except that we've been on a journey with Mark and Trish for 2 years now, and the first 12 months was quite slow, and we just rocketed in the last 12 months. So it's a bit chaotic at the moment.
Awesome. But people just want to know who you are. Like, okay, so you're from the Wirral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, what is it you do? You went to school, maybe, in the Wirral? Did they have school? Yeah. And then you got a job, I'm assuming?
Mm.
You guys?
We did, yeah.
Secrets?
Oh God.
So, okay, I grew up on the back end of a council estate in a nice family, and as a young adult I'd done a bit of building work, well, a lot of building work, swimming pool engineer, drainage engineer, actually worked in a bank at one point, a credit card company.
They let you in a bank?
Yeah.
With a balaclava on.
And then I migrated to being a police officer for Merseyside Police, which I still am, just ready to quit, but that was a 12-year service.
Wow.
Wow.
It's, yeah, there's a lot of wows, I suppose, but there's also a lot of
Learnings, they're called, learnings.
learnings, yeah. That's me.
I also went to school. Yeah, I was actually born in Spain. A lot of my family's Spanish. So, but I actually, fun fact, when I moved to England, I couldn't speak English, and now I can't speak Spanish.
Can't be speaking English.
So I went to uni and wasted a lot of time there and did a teaching degree, and I hated it. And now I am an estate agent, which works out well. So I'm an estate agent in the area that we invest in as well. So
useful.
Yeah,
very
it
useful.
is.
So, okay, what went through your minds that thought, hey, I've got to look for something more, maybe invest in property? Like, what was the...
Yeah, what made you think property was right for you?
I think it was me that brought it into, well, it definitely was me that brought it into our relationship. I think it's something that I'd always wanted to do, but I never knew a process. Like, it didn't have the family with like an entrepreneurial flair. It was go to work, get a pension, and enjoy being old, maybe. I don't know whether that's what was said, but that was like the process that still runs in our family.
But that really is what it is though, right?
Yeah, it is.
That's what it is, or that's what you're told that it is.
Yeah.
No, but that's what I mean, that is what people say.
Yeah, and I was a classic case, I suppose, which many people are, just being on that like treadmill of work as hard as you can for 1 or 2 holidays a year, get a few cancelled and being told you can't do something, and just crack on with it. And because I'd always wanted to go into property, I'd never understood the depth really that you could get into it with my level of knowledge, which was nil. And something happened with my house. I bought my own house off plan through a government scheme, and whether I was a bit crafty or clever, whatever you want to say.
Maybe you don't see this on the internet.
Yeah, it's fine, because they didn't know where I live. The government and the builder paid 30% of the contribution to my build. So I only had to find a smaller amount of money in order to get it. It was a first time buyer scheme. But in order to pay them back, you had to do that after 5 years of an interest-free 30% loan, so to speak. But I just didn't pay them back. I just called the government up and said, I owe you 15% of my house, so can I pay you it back, because I refinanced my house. So I had about 27 grand in my bank through the inflation of my property.
It's not that you didn't pay them back, let's not say that, because you paid the government back, didn't you? But then the building company had gone bust a couple of times. Wow. So that had never been flagged.
So it'd been written
I
off.
actually genuinely emailed them, because my intention was to pay them back, but it was to pay them back separately. So I emailed them and said, look, I'm ready to pay. Can you send me like an invoice, whatever it was? And
they never got back to us.
Never got back. So I kept the money in my bank for maybe 18 months, close to 2 years. And I thought, I'm going to buy a house with this. And I had met Maribel, and her cousin, who owns the building company that runs our refurbishments now, he had an old electrician that he'd worked with who'd contacted him and said, I've got a house here, I want rid of it, because he buys houses as well, Gav. Do you want it? And he said to me, there's a house here, it's probably some money in it, would you like it? And I went and had a look and bought it. And then that was the start of the journey, really. And although that was a nightmare.
It was nearly the start of the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then we met you guys.
So that one you bought, that was the
Mossy Bank.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that. You know, before part.
Yeah, that's Mossy Bank. Yeah, that's the original gangster.
Okay, so you then bought that. So what happened with that?
Oh, what didn't happen with that one? So I took it upon myself to refurbish the whole property and took time off work again.
At this point, this is you getting into property, investing in
on my
property.
own. Yeah,
Did you had some education at that point, right? I think.
No.
You hadn't.
No, there's no education.
Zero.
Yeah, zero. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So with the skills that I'd learnt through the building trade and carrying on a building trade through my career in the police, through time off and natural days off, I applied that to the build, completely ripped it out back to like brick almost, and then rebuilt it as a property to sell as a flip. But it didn't go, and it was costing me a bit of money every month, or quite a lot of money, considering the extra money that I'd put into it. And then I tried to rent it.
We got into that other education, didn't we?
Yeah, we got
during the process of your refurb.
Yeah, we did, yeah. Oh yeah, that was the transition actually.
So you realised you needed more.
We needed help, yeah.
Knowledge, yeah.
Yeah. So we tried to rent it. It got rented by two ladies, and it wasn't enough for me to warrant what I'd put in. So I thought, right, I'm going to have to make it HMO, because I'd done the HMO course in the other education, and I was going to do it for social housing. So I had a certain bit of help from a HMO specialist and said, you need to do it like this, and it just like didn't work.
No, you've missed a big chunk out.
Have I?
Yeah.
Well, help then.
Because we were, can we say the name?
No.
Okay. So we were with this other company doing education, and it was all a bit like lectury, and you just don't learn like that.
Very classroom driven, yeah.
So we had Mossy Bank, and we tried to sell it and it wouldn't sell. We tried to rent it, and remortgaging it to rent was just leaving too much money in it, so that just didn't work either. So I was obviously in an estate agency, and we had an auctions department, so I spoke to auctions.
Oh yeah.
And we were ready to just break even. So it was going to pay us back what we put into it, and obviously the mortgage and everything, but we were going to put it on the market for a lot less just to get rid of it, because we were at like our wit's end with it, and we just wanted to get rid and try and like start afresh.
How much was it costing you a month at that point? Was it like £1,000 a month or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, with everything, it was costing £1,000 because I'd lent money to refurbish the place.
Oh, yeah.
So you were losing £1,000 a month?
Yeah.
It was hemorrhaging £1,000 a month with council tax, because even though it was an empty home, we still have to pay council tax. I still had to pay the mortgage, obviously, the loan, and
Credit cards and everything, I remember you saying all that.
Yeah.
yeah, so there was 2 credit cards and a loan that I'd refurbished the property with, because the majority of the money I had went on the deposit. So I didn't have enough in the bank to complete the refurbishment, so I borrowed to refurb, and then I couldn't sell. And then we were like, Maribel.
That was like, we were just going to get rid of it. So it was like, put it to auction, get all of our money back that we put in and start afresh. And then we found you.
Yes, we did.
On Facebook. And times changed.
And I remember the first FaceTime that we had through an interaction on Facebook Messenger, and you were like, can you take a face call? And we were like, yeah. And I don't know why I didn't have a car at the time. I'd probably sold it to make money. But you took me to work, and we were in your car outside the police station, and I was dead late for work, and I was just speaking to these.
Yeah. And then we set up another call, and then we sent you like the floor plan and the photos and stuff. And you were like, it's HMO all day.
Yeah, you both just went, that's a HMO. Like,
and we
no,
were like, it can't be because of this, because of this, because of this. And you were like, no, it is. And now it is.
And then that led me down to the path of the £3,000 empty homes grant that I was given by the council, which was really difficult to process because it was a paperwork-based scheme. So I struggled with that, but I got £3,000 back for that. We refinanced the property and pulled 18 grand back out of it. We paid...
So the £3,000 that we got off the council did all like the HMO regulation stuff? So all your fire doors and all the stuff like that, and the alarm system?
It did, yeah, because we had to change loads of stuff, didn't we? That's right. The £3,000 paid for...
Making it into a licensable HMO.
Yeah. And that cash flows now at 7... No more, because we've got a double occupancy.
Yeah, we've got another person that's moved in now.
£818 a month.
Excellent. A property that was costing you £1,000 a month is now making you 818.
Yeah, after everything's paid off.
You've got all your money back plus 18,000.
And we paid off the 2 credit cards and the loan for the refurbishment.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you made some big progress. So this is you getting into property. It was an awesome, detailed story as well.
Yeah.
It's good. It's like some people just say, oh, I thought this and then this happened. But like it sounded like you gradually was grabbing more ground into investing into property, but challenge. What were all the other challenges that after this point? Because I think there's challenges up until then, but then what were the other challenges before you got to where you are now?
Well, there's been a hell of a lot of challenges through the whole process to this day. But I think the thing to say about the challenges is, just before we move on with it, is that the mindset that we were given from you two, from especially the first part of our coaching, the very first coaching, where I was like, stop talking to me, Mark, about mindset, because like I'm not getting it. But you drilled it in like every single time. That was the shift, because instead of there being a challenge, it was a problem, and the problem was like, can't fix it. Like you can't fix that. But then,
which one of them was raising money, right?
Yeah, raising money was a big one.
Yeah, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So just tell us, like, what was going on in your mind then? Like, what perspective was you looking at it from? Because this is what we want to share this here, so other people having either mind freak or that dead end kind of mindset. It's like, no, that's the way it is. I've been told that's the way it is, so it can't be any different. Like, what was going through your minds?
Well,
I think you've got to pick the right people to pitch to as well, because like people, it was like we just had a call then on the way here. We were chatting to someone about service accommodation, and he said like he goes for a certain type of investor who's already switched on and is already wants to do better, because there's people have got a lot of money but they also got the same doubts and concerns and worries, and you don't need that person. That's not the right investor, that's not the right person. Just because they've got money, it doesn't mean it's the right person to go to. Like, you need people with the mindset's the biggest thing. And as soon as you click with someone and you're on the same page, getting money's easy.
Yeah, it is, and I agree with that. But another thing that I'd probably add is we found it hard to be live on Facebook.
Yeah.
I had a rope around my neck with the police because what I'm doing goes against certain policies and procedures in the police. So I couldn't do things particularly live on my own Facebook page because friends in the police may go and say, have you seen Speedy doing this? And then there's trouble. So mine had to stay on the group pages that we've got with you guys, which is the 2 pages, which is a massive platform. Maribel could, but there was a lot of like conflict in our mind with it all. Even like time and making time for it, which is an excuse because we did do it when we got shouted at by the pair of them for not doing it, especially Trish. But one thing that I would say when I have been live on Facebook is if you're honest and if you're transparent about everything that you're doing, even if you think someone may think they don't like what you've just said, that doesn't matter because another 10 people might like the honesty that you're projecting. And I think we definitely got investors through being transparent, I think.
Yeah.
For sure, that's the only way it happens. So like, what were some of the stumbling blocks for you? You're saying a lot of it was just mentally.
Yeah, I think confidence is a big thing. Because even now, when like on paper it sounds like we're doing really well, and we are doing a lot better than we were last year, I think we're still a bit, I'll say sceptical because I definitely still am. Thomas isn't. But there's still something in the back of your mind that just goes, it all seems a bit too good to be true. And because we've spent like a year and a half with nothing and doing the same things and doing as much as we can to progress, and it like a year and a half is a long time to put your faith into something and not see anything back. And it's only been the last 6 to 10 months that everything's just gone like that. So for me, that's fast because we put so much time in at the beginning and nothing happened. For it to just like go rocketing.
So what was happening in the beginning? Because that's what I think a lot of people get stuck by, the same stuff that you guys were getting stuck. So what was going on in your mind? Like, you're saying it was moving slow, you say you was doing everything, but like really what was going on?
We were given an opportunity by a private vendor that I knew for a property that we'd spoken to you guys about a lot, and this is basically the first property that we wanted to like do the transition with because there was something we could see, but we just didn't have the knowledge and the network to put it all together. And we were offered a property which was on a row of shops. It was a derelict unit with a 5-bed HMO above it that had been condemned by the council as uninhabitable because it was basically a crack house. That's exactly what it was. And the unit underneath was a vacant, derelict commercial unit.
It's a shop, yeah.
It's a shop.
Yeah.
We've recently learned it was a butcher's that my mum and my nan used to go to along many years ago. But anyway, it was almost like a unit for storing tools for the fella that I was buying it off. It was 57 grand, this whole unit, and everything seemed good on paper until we applied for planning because we wanted to convert it to a 7-bedroom, fully licensed, all ensuite HMO. So we projected on Facebook, we got an investor, an international investor, and we brought them over to stay with us, and they were made up. They seen the crack pipe in the crack den. And we
wanted to be called Crack Pipe Property Group.
CP Property Group. That wasn't even our decision, that was theirs.
No, yeah, we went against that.
So that property was available to us for a long time until we got our investors together and said yes. And without going on too much, there's so much to do with just setting up a JV contract, especially with investors. Well, they're not investors, partners that live overseas.
Yeah.
Proof of where money's coming from, proof of your address, having something already set up in the UK seemed to be vital for us really because it made things a little bit quicker. But that process was like a whole other hurdle to cross. But when we got over it and we done it, we then had the council that declined us our application for the approval of a 7-bedroom HMO as one unit because the council's policy, which by the way you can't change, said no commercial unit can be turned into a residential dwelling or residential commercial dwelling. If that's our policy, you can't do it. So we got a really good architect who had good knowledge of a load of other projects that had been relatively similar. Design and access statement put in, and it went to a committee. And then that was a difficult process because our council is so slow and drawn out that it takes them 8 weeks to get to your case for them to say, oh no, your first line is wrong, you've got to put it back in, you've got to wait another 8 weeks for us to see it. So that happened. Then when they seen it, they said, oh, we need to do a site visit on this property because we haven't seen it. So 16 weeks had gone past of nonsense for them to say, change this first sentence and we need a site visit. That was all that they had to say. So then we had to wait 3 weeks for a site visit. Then we missed the cut-off date for that one committee meeting a month by 2 days. So we had to wait another 4 weeks for the next committee. So without setting the business up, and that process taking a while, just to get planning agreed for that property took 4 months, close to 4 months, if not a bit longer. Then when you do that, you've then got to get the builder in to start the project. And because it was an old property, there's been loads of problems with the property. So as far as...
So back to the question that you actually asked at the beginning about our challenges. I think we've been lucky because those two projects happened at the beginning of our journey and they both came with loads of challenges and loads of new things and loads of problems. So I think the reason why we've overcome challenges quickly is because we've had to face so many of them and we've learnt from them straight away. And because now if an investor comes to us with a question, we've done it, we've got the answer. So we're a bit more confident in ourselves. And like because everything went wrong, like obviously with the planning going to committee and all stuff like that, and then with Mossy Bank us not being able to tenant it and not being able to sell it and all that sort of stuff, it's given us the confidence to say if we follow these steps in this business model, we know it works. And because we've got confidence in that model, now when we go to investors and we try and get money, we've got a bit of the backing. So if you're not fortunate enough to go through all the shit that we went through, sorry for swearing.
I'm not allowed to swear.
I am. If you're not fortunate enough to go through all of those problems and all of those challenges, speak to people that have, get that knowledge, because that knowledge will make you more confident and it makes it easier.
So it's an experience that you guys have gone through, and this is what...
And that's what shifted us, I think. The fact that we've gone through all of them processes, and they have been difficult, and it's been long, and it's been hard, and it's been slow. I think that's why we are where we are now in our mindset, as well as having you guys and coaching. But because Thomas doesn't learn being spoken to, so coaching could only have ever taken him so far. But because we got our coaching at the same time that we were going through all of that, it's like solidified in both of our minds. And I think the reason why we've overcome a lot of challenges mentally and like physically, really, because we've come through all of them, that's why our mindset shifted more so than just going through the motions and doing all your goal setting and all stuff like that, because we've gone through it all and we've learnt that way as well as being coached through it. That's why we've like...
Absolutely, it's a combination. You can't just talk about it. And do. You can't just read a book how to ride a bike and then think, yeah, I can ride a bike. You've got to go ride the bike at the same time as you're learning.
I think we were quite fortunate that we went through all of that at the same time as we met you guys.
So what was the turning point for you to then say, okay, follow the process, trust it, and it works? Because there was a lot of skepticism, there was a lot of you just saying this is a problem, it's not a challenge, it's just a stone.
I'll tell you what a big turn.
It doesn't work, I'm not doing it!
I'll tell you what was a big turning point for me was we could find properties in locations that we knew geographically worked on paper as a HMO, live bus routes to busy towns and city centres, because we're fortunate with our location where we live. Hospitals, colleges, etc. We knew our area well enough to place where we would think a HMO would work from the model that we copied from you guys. Because we knew how to do that and we could find properties well and we negotiated well on price because we knew our numbers worked, we had more deals than we had investors, and our first JV partners had tied up money elsewhere in South Wales. Therefore, they wanted to reinvest with us, but at that time, they didn't have their network that they've got now, or the money to give us to do another project. So we had maybe 2 or 3 deals that were on the table that were really good, that we're still quite sad we weren't able to take at the time, but just flipping it a little bit. Instead of me saying, all right, forget it, I'll ignore the estate agent, I'll break down that communication that I've built up with them, I just won't answer the phone, that house is gone, we've got no investor for it. We sourced them, and we took on, basically, 50-50 our own properties and sourcing projects. So that also helped in a massive transition, that not only did I have my own project with my own partners, we were also project managing for other people, and the logistics of that are so different than doing it yourself. So
do you know why I laugh? I remember the call where I said, because you were like, I need to get some income now because I've had enough of my job, I've just had enough. And I said, well, what about doing some project management? Because you have a lot of knowledge and you have a team ready, you have lots of deals, and people are coming to you for feedback. And you were like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to project manage. I can't do that and all of this. And I was like, it's just an idea. Just look into it. And now, like, you're really, really successful project management business, yeah, as well as your own deals, as well as sourcing.
So what are some of the
turnaround that is?
Well, results are that we own 7 of our own assets in HMOs on the Wirral, and we project manage 4, and they're all...
We've got... They're due to complete, aren't they, one of them?
But 2 of our own are due to complete.
And one of the project management.
And one of the project managements is due to complete, yeah. But that's good in a way, because...
You have 11 deals?
Yeah, we've got 11.
Amazing.
I think, well, I don't remember exactly, but it's 1.273 million pounds worth of property bought, but that includes for investors. And stress testing our done up valuation numbers is 3.7 million.
3.7 million in 18 months.
In an area where the properties are not that expensive.
No.
No.
So that's brilliant.
Most of the houses that we bought are like under 100 grand, bar the bigger ones. So
despite the challenges, despite the odds, despite the I'm not doing it, despite the mindset, 3.7 million in 18 months.
And how many units do you have for yourself now?
67 units.
And your goal was 50, right?
50 by the end of last year, wasn't it?
We've got 67 units, but we've converted one of our properties that we own into, no, 2 of them, into double occupancy rooms. So we could have split the rooms to make more people, but we want to bring in like a nicer, higher end HMO room. Some of them have got kitchenettes in, so they're almost like self-contained flats. They're that big.
Yeah, like a studio.
Yeah, like studios.
But with a shared kitchen, but they still have their own kitchenette. So there's 67 units, 82 occupants.
Wow.
Awesome. And in value.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So if you could give a message to people who might be wanting to get started, but have a lot of, all these things can go wrong, so it's probably not worth it, or it's too risky, or maybe people who have started that are coming up against challenges, what advice would you give to them?
I think just keep going, and things do go wrong. Like, it was only maybe yesterday or the day before that ours went wrong, but you just deal with it differently. Like, so our builder missed out a quote for something, and it was, should we just tell them what it was?
Yeah.
So because we've got this massive 7-bed HMO, the one that's got a couple of double occupancy rooms, because the girl that does the quotes for us, she doesn't go to the site, she doesn't see the properties. So because there was like 5 kitchenettes in this house, or 4.
7. There was 7 originally.
7 kitchenettes.
Yeah.
So there were 7 kitchenettes originally, and then we changed it to something else, and then because there was all this faffing about with kitchenettes, she never costed for a kitchen. So because of all these kitchenettes, she's just thought, oh, well, we have 5-bed HMOs as well as 7, as well as 8. So if there's 5 kitchenettes in here, they mustn't need a kitchen. It must be using that kitchen space for another room or a communal room or something. So that quote just completely was wrong. And we've started the refurb on that already. And like, we'd have flapped about that 6 months ago. As little as 6 months ago, that would have been like, shit, what are we going to do? Sorry for swearing again. But we just called our broker and was like, this is what's happened, but because we're doing this and it's double occupancy rooms, like the value's going to be better, the rental's going to be better, the rooms are better, all this. And he's just said, leave it with me, do this, and we'll see if we can get it on the development loan.
Well,
so
it wasn't just the kitchenettes, the kitchen, sorry. I went round with the builder. The property's really old. The builder remembers being in the building as a young lad, smoking cigarettes when he shouldn't have been smoking them.
It's been empty that long.
So we've found £12,705 worth of extra costs in this building. I get them, I understand them, and they have to be brought up.
Yeah, it's stuff that you would just never know until you started ripping it out.
Like a survey or a prop valuation would never have shown it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So 6 months ago, maybe a bit 6 months ago, maybe a bit longer, for me to be told I need £12,705 to continue the rest of the build for it to be finished, and to find the money for a kitchen, which by the way is £4,800 including VAT, I'd have gone, shit, I don't know how to do that.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
It's ruined.
Project
That's it.
over.
The world's over.
Pegsy!
So what's the difference? If you're gonna give advice or some inspiration to some people, what's the difference?
Mindset. Change your mindset.
It's definitely a mindset.
And if you can't change it yourself, pay for someone to change it. That's the truth. If you can't change your mindset yourself by self-development, books, audio books, people that you surround yourself with, pay for somebody
to work on it,
who's good at changing your mindset, because it's the only thing that will stop you progressing ever.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how much you do or how much you know, you need to be able to deal with things that come up in the best and most efficient way. And like, we literally, it took us a day to make action and to take action and to solve that problem. Like, it would have took like a month. Like it would have took longer than that. We would have argued about it, we would have flapped about it, we would have cried about it,
cried for loans about it.
Yeah, we'd have just done everything except go, right, let's take a step back, let's see what we, do you know what I mean? Like, you it's just the way you react to things is the biggest thing to help you succeed.
And also, our business partner with this one, he knows there's extra cost, he doesn't know how much, and he's away at the moment.
He does now.
But he's home today.
I'll be sorted by the time this goes on.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, all right, what do we do? And I can say, I've done it. I've had the new quote done by the builder. I've done the new numbers for the broker. The broker's been given the information, what he needs to pass on to the
lender.
The lender. He's fixing the problem. Done. All right, okay, Sam. That's all he has to say. He doesn't have to go, although we're in business together, 50-50, he doesn't have to then go, what do I do to get this, to fix this?
This was the challenge, but we've dealt with it.
Yeah, done it, yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But mindset, that's what you need. You've got to have the right mindset. It's really difficult. It is.
We haven't got the right mindset now. It's just better than it was.
Yeah,
it's a constant thing.
Yeah.
You're never done. You always have to work on yourself.
But it's a huge transformation, and you don't need to compare yourself to anybody else. No. That's what is always needs to be realised.
Compare yourself to yourself.
Yeah, just compare yourself to yourself. So it's a big transformation. That's why you're here. And I want to thank you for being here, sharing this, because I know you've inspired many people already, and you're going to continue to inspire people with what it is you guys have done. So please keep sharing it. And you've got to remember, the one key thing is to always do the right thing for the right reason, because that's the only way you're going to discover your true potential.